If trimming your cat's nails ends in a wrestling match, a drop of blood on the carpet, or another vet appointment you keep quietly rescheduling, this is the video that changes that for you, starting today. No storytelling detour, no shame, just the exact method I use with the most anxious cats who come through my clinic doors, broken down so carefully that even a cat who has never tolerated a trim in their life can learn to sit through one without a single hiss. If you've been dreading nail day, put the clippers down for now. You won't need them for a while. Hi, I'm Dr. Andrew Collins, and I've spent a little over 2 decades working with cats, first in general practice, then increasingly with the fearful, the reactive, and the ones every other clinic labeled impossible. What I learned in those rooms is that almost none of them were actually impossible. They were simply being asked to skip steps. When I finally slowed the process down and layered it the way a cat's nervous system needs it layered, the wrestling stopped. The bleeding stopped. And in most cases, the owners stopped dreading Sunday afternoons. Today, I'm going to walk you through that exact protocol in 4 phases, in the same order I teach it to owners across the exam table. Grab a notebook if you'd like. Before we begin, one gentle note. Everything I share here works for the majority of healthy adult cats in my experience, but your cat is your cat. And if there's a medical history, a chronic pain issue, or a temperament your own veterinarian has flagged, run this protocol past them first. Behavior work and medicine belong in the same conversation. Let's begin with phase 1, which is the phase nearly every owner skips. And skipping it is the single biggest reason nail trims go wrong. Phase 1 is the environment, not the cat, not the clippers, the room itself. Here's what most owners get wrong. They wait until the nails look too long, they corner the cat on the couch or the kitchen counter, and they attempt the trim in whatever lighting happens to be in the room at that moment. The cat, whose vision is built to detect the flick of a mouse tail in near darkness, is now being restrained in an unfamiliar posture, in an unpredictable location, with a stranger-shaped tool approaching a paw. Of course they thrash. Their nervous system is doing exactly what it evolved to do. The correction is quiet, but it changes everything. Pick one location in your home and only one that will become the nail trim spot. I like a soft folded towel placed on a low, stable surface, a coffee table, an ottoman, a bench, somewhere the cat can settle their belly onto fabric rather than cold laminate. The towel matters more than people realize. A study out of the University of Lincoln's Animal Behavior Group has repeatedly shown that surface texture directly affects a cat's cortisol response during handling. Soft, warm, slightly weighted fabric lowers arousal. Slick counters raise it. Lighting next. You need bright, even warm light shining down onto the paw, not overhead fluorescent, not the flashlight of a phone held awkwardly in your teeth. A simple desk lamp on a low setting, angled from the side, will let you see the pink triangle of blood vessel, the quick, inside each nail without straining. Most owners cut too short because they can't actually see. Fix the light and half the danger disappears. Sound matters too. Turn off the television. Silence notifications. If you have a partner or children in the house, ask them to give you 15 quiet minutes. Your cat hears roughly 3 times the frequency range you do, and a sudden doorbell in the middle of a trim will send them straight up your forearm. That soft ambient hush around the 2 of you is part of the protocol, not a nice to have. Now, pause the video and go grab 3 things I want you to have in front of you before phase 2 begins. A folded hand towel, a small dish of something your cat treats as high value, whether that's a lick of plain wet food, a couple of freeze-dried chicken pieces, or a spoon of unsalted meat baby food, and the clippers you plan to use, still closed, still set to the side. I'll wait. The clippers themselves deserve a quick word. In most cases, I recommend a small scissor-style clipper with a shallow curved blade over the guillotine style. A sharp, small scissor-style clipper, the kind sized for cats or small dogs, not the human variety, makes a clean, quiet cut. Human nail clippers, by the way, tend to squeeze the nail sideways and split it, which is painful even when you miss the quick. If yours are dulled or hand-me-down, replace them. This is not the place to economize. That's phase 1. The room, the surface, the light, the sound, the tool. Do this before you ever pick up your cat, and you've already done more than most owners do in an entire year of trying. Phase 2 is where the magic actually happens, and it's the phase people are most tempted to skip because it doesn't look like nail trimming at all. Phase 2 is body handling desensitization, and it happens over days, not minutes. Here's what most owners get wrong. They decide today is trim day, they grab the cat, they grab a paw, and they squeeze. That squeeze, the pressure required to extend the nail from its sheath, is a sensation your cat has almost never felt from you in a neutral context. In their lived experience, paws are for walking, kneading, and self-grooming. Suddenly a large primate is compressing the joint from above and below. The reaction is not defiance, it's a startle reflex. The correction is to make paw contact a boring, daily, deeply pleasant part of your cat's life, long before a clipper ever appears. Here's how I coach owners to layer it. For the first 2 or 3 days, do nothing but rest your fingertip on the top of one paw while your cat is relaxed, on your lap, on the couch, in a sunspot. 2 seconds. Then remove your hand, offer the tiny treat. Walk away. That's it. That's the whole session. On day 3 or 4, extend the touch. Cup the paw gently in your palm, thumb on top for 3 seconds. Treat. Release. Do this with each of the 4 paws across the day, never in a row, never in one long session. You're not training your cat. You're teaching their nervous system that human hands on paws predict something good and end quickly. By day 5 or 6, you begin the gentle press. With the paw resting in your palm, place your thumb pad on the top of one toe and your index finger under the pad, and squeeze so lightly that the nail just barely tips out of its sheath. Look at it. Don't touch it with anything else. Release. Treat. This is the sensation that used to trigger the meltdown, and by now, because you've built up to it slowly, your cat's baseline is calm. You've spent a week convincing their body that this is safe. Your cat's biology responds to predictability the same way ours does. A study from the Cornell Feline Health Center has emphasized for years that predictable, low-arousal handling routines dramatically reduce fear-based aggression in domestic cats. Predictability is your currency here. Spend it generously. I remember a mature tabby who came through my clinic last spring. His owner had been trying for 8 months to trim his nails and had ended every attempt in tears. Hers, not his. When I walked her through phase 2, she called me at the end of week 2, a little in disbelief, and said her cat had actually walked over and offered his paw when she sat down on the couch with the towel. That's what desensitization looks like when it's done right. It doesn't feel like training. It feels like your cat opting in. A gentle caution before we move on. If at any point during phase 2 your cat pulls away, freezes, or flicks their tail sharply, you have moved too fast. Do not chase the paw. Do not finish just one. Stop the session, offer the treat anyway so the ending is still pleasant, and drop back 1 step tomorrow. Every session that ends with the cat calm is a deposit. Every session that ends with a cat panicked is a withdrawal, and withdrawals cost you 3 times what deposits earn. Now, you might be wondering when we finally get to the actual clipping. That's phase 3. This is where the technique lives. Everything up to this point has been preparation. If you skipped phase 1 or phase 2, please go back. The technique in phase 3 only works on a foundation that's been laid. Without it, no grip in the world will save you. Phase 3, the actual trim. Here is what most owners get wrong. They try to trim all 10 front nails and 8 back nails in a single session. They approach the paw from above, blocking their own view. They cut straight across the nail, parallel to the toe, which is the exact angle most likely to hit the quick. And they clip deep, chasing a short nail when short was never the goal. Let me correct each of those in turn. First, forget about doing all 18 nails. Your first successful trim might be 1 nail. 1. If that 1 nail goes cleanly and your cat stays relaxed, you stop, you treat, you walk away. Nail trimming is not a task to complete in a sitting. It's a rolling routine spread across the week. I usually suggest owners aim for 2 to 3 nails per session in the beginning, and even that only after phase 2 is solid. By the time your cat is comfortable, you might do a full paw in one sitting. But the ambition to get it over with is what turns a 2-minute trim into a 2-month behavioral setback. Second, the approach angle. Sit beside your cat, not in front of them. Their peripheral vision is designed to detect threats coming from the front. A clipper approaching their face from head-on triggers the same neural pathway as a predator lunging at their eyes. Sit at their shoulder, facing the same direction they're facing. Cradle the paw from underneath, so your hand is below theirs. The clipper approaches from the side, low, out of their direct sight line. This one change, the side approach, has in my clinic turned reactive cats into cooperative ones almost overnight. Third, the cut angle. Do not cut straight across, parallel to the pad. Instead, tip the clipper so the blade meets the nail at roughly a 45-degree angle, cutting from underneath the nail toward the tip. You're shaving off the sharp, curved hook at the very end, not amputating the nail. In most adult cats, you're removing about 1/16 of an inch, the thickness of a nickel, and no more. If you can see the pink triangle of the quick when you shine the light through the nail, aim to leave a comfortable 2 millimeters of clear nail between your blade and that pink. 2 millimeters, not 1. Cats' quicks recede slowly with frequent tiny trims and grow forward with neglect. So the more often you do this, every 2 weeks in most households, the safer the margin becomes. Fourth, pressure. When you squeeze the toe to extend the nail, the pressure needed is roughly what you'd use to press a doorbell and no more. If you find yourself gripping harder to hold the paw still, your cat is telling you phase 2 isn't finished. Go back. There's no shame in that. I have owners who spend 3 weeks in phase 2 and then breeze through phase 3 in a week. The time is not wasted, it's front-loaded. Here is the climax of the whole method, the single detail that reverses everything for most people. Ready? It's the timing cue. You do not clip while your cat is watching the clipper. You clip in the half second immediately after they blink, or immediately after they exhale a long breath, or in the pause right after they've turned their head to sniff the treat dish. Cats, like all mammals, have micro moments of parasympathetic softening, tiny windows when the nervous system dips into rest and digest. Trained handlers learn to feel these windows. You can too. Watch for the slow blink, watch for the shoulder drop, watch for the tail curl to relax against the towel. In that 1 second window, you cut. Clean, quiet, done. And then you release the paw before your cat has fully processed that anything happened at all. Most owners cut when they're ready. The correction is to cut when the cat is ready. It sounds mystical. It's actually just nervous system reading, and once you see it, you'll never unsee it. Which brings us to phase 4, and please don't underestimate this one. Phase 4 is the reason your next session goes well. Phase 4 is the recovery and reward loop. Here is what most owners get wrong. The instant the last nail is clipped, they exhale, drop the paw, and walk away relieved. To them, the trim is over. To the cat, the memory is still forming. And memory forms most strongly around the final 30 seconds of any experience. A principle behavioral scientists sometimes call the peak end rule, well documented in studies out of the University of Sussex on companion animal handling and beyond. If the last 30 seconds of your cat's nail trim experience are you standing up, walking away, and going to answer a text, their brain files the entire event as neutral at best. If the last 30 seconds are a slow chin scratch, a lick of the treat dish, a soft word, and a moment of just sitting quietly on the towel together, their brain files the event as pleasant. Next time you unfold that towel, they'll remember the pleasant part first. So here's the recovery loop. Immediately after the final clip of the session, keep your hands soft, keep your voice low, and let the treat linger. Don't rush them off the towel. Sit for a full minute. Stroke down the length of their back the way they groom themselves. If your cat purrs, wait for the purr to soften naturally before you get up. If your cat is one of the many who don't purr much, wait for the tail to still or the ears to relax forward. You're branding this ending into their long-term memory as safe. Then, and this matters more than you'd think, put the clippers back in exactly the same place every time. Not in a drawer they never see. Somewhere visible, somewhere they can walk past and sniff on non-trim days. Cats extinguish fear through repeated exposure to a neutral stimulus, and clippers that only appear once every 2 weeks feel like an event. Clippers that live on the shelf beside the treat jar become furniture. One more caution before we close. In the coming weeks, you will occasionally nick the quick. It happens to every trimmer, including me, including your veterinarian. When it does, and I mean the moment it does, you have a small bottle of styptic powder within arm's reach, or as a backup. A pinch of plain cornstarch pressed gently against the nail tip. The bleeding stops within a minute in most cases. What you don't do is panic. Your cat reads your voice tone and body tension faster than they read the sting. If you stay level, they stay level. Treat immediately. End the session gently. And when you sit down for the next trim 2 weeks later, they won't remember the nick. They'll remember your hands on that towel in that light in that quiet room. Let's pull the whole method back together. Phase 1 is the environment. One location, soft surface, angled warm light, silent room, correct clippers. Phase 2 is body handling desensitization, spread across 5 to 7 days, where paws in your hands become boring and predictable. Phase 3 is the trim itself. Sit at the shoulder, cradle from underneath, 45-degree cut angle, doorbell light pressure, and above all, clip in the parasympathetic window when your cat blinks, exhales, or softens. Phase 4 is the closing 30 seconds that decide the next session. If you follow this, really follow it, without rushing phase 2, without cutting corners on phase 1, the majority of cats I've worked with move from full-on wrestling matches to voluntary paw offerings within about 4 to 6 weeks. Some faster, a few slower. All of them are calmer. Before you go, tell me in the comments what part of the routine has been the hardest for you until now. Is it the grip, the angle, the timing, or is it that your cat vanishes the moment they hear the drawer open? Whichever it is, I read the comments, and the answers help me shape the next tutorials. You've done the hard part today just by watching to the end. The next time you unfold that towel, remember, your cat isn't fighting you. They're waiting for you to slow down enough for them to say yes. Take a breath, put the notebook down, and go find your little one. They've been waiting to hear that quiet tone in your voice again.